Hello, welcome, Sacred Creator. I'm so happy and I feel so blessed that our paths have happened to cross today. I think that's for a reason. I wanted to talk a bit today about creativity, specifically creative writing, and how we can take the pressure off of ourselves as creative writers to produce so much, feel like we need to achieve so much through our writing. How can that happen in a natural way without us constantly analyzing and getting so up in our heads that it's actually preventing us from being able to create? Maybe you are in a place right now where you're writing a lot and you're having a great time. And if so, I'm so happy for you. But maybe you're in a place where you feel burnt out or you feel tired. You feel like, man, I am measuring myself by whether or not I'm able to write today. I'm kind of measuring myself against this writing profession, whatever you want to call it. So how can we look at writing differently? I hope you have a cup of tea for this one. I knew I would need it as we delve into this topic. I think it starts with how we view writing. I think that can really fuel our journey, or it can deplete our journey. How we're viewing our craft, this thing that we've decided to make because we enjoy doing it. Has it turned into a burden somewhere along the line? And if so, how did that happen? That can be a good question to ask. If you are feeling tired, burnt out, maybe this is a chronic experience, then it's a really important time to sit down and ask the question, where along the line did that feeling kind of creep in? Where along the line did I start to feel like I was judging myself based on how I could create this thing? Where did I start feeling like I had to measure myself and my progress in life based on how well I could produce something? I think there are a few things that can, sorry for my fluctuating lighting here, it's like a really patchy, cloudy, sunny day, so let's just work with nature here. When we use a lot of emphasis on things like word count, which can be fine, if paying attention to word count makes you feel motivated, that's great. Everything I'm going to talk about here, you have to personalize it, make it your own. Some things might work for you, some things might not work for you, and it's all personal. It really depends on you. This is your practice. I am only someone who's throwing out some things that have worked for me, and it's up to you to like make your own springboard of what serves you best in your journey. But sometimes we get so caught up on how much did I write today? How many words did I produce today? What was my word count? Am I happy with how many words I was able to write within a day, within an hour, whatever it is? Measurements. We keep taking all these measurements and we compare it against, oh, it wasn't as much as when I wrote, 5,000 words on that one day, and now that becomes the golden standard, right? So slowly over time, maybe writing went from being something that was this really fun little oasis to this thing that gets measured very strictly. And now we feel like it's something that we have to like make it to that benchmark each and every time. But, I feel like writing is often overlooked as an art. It's almost looked at in more of a scholastic sense of, the broader scope of literature and what it means to the world. And writing can seem a little more rigid and regimented sometimes, but I like to think that, and I hope I represent this and help to break that stereotype with what I'm doing here on this channel, because I have often felt like I don't fit into any of that structure. So if you're someone who also feels like you never fit into that structure, you don't have to. Writing is an art. It should never have been overlooked as an art because it is an art. So imagine if we let ourselves embrace that idea and let writing be whatever it needs to be for us today, right now, in this moment. What if we were to take all those expectations and all that pressure we've put on ourselves off? It's funny if you think of any of these things we do to ourselves as writers in the context of any other art. Painting, for example. Imagine a painter who measured how many brush strokes per day they painted. I painted 257 brush strokes today. I painted 1,500 brush strokes today. I think if you heard someone say that, you'd be like, what? Aren't you just like getting lost in that moment of painting, focusing more on just the image, what your mind is seeing, this vision in your mind? Isn't that more of the focus? So if we heard a painter talk in those terms, it might be kind of comical or puzzling, but yet we do it to ourselves all the time with writing, rather than focusing on, did I write a character that I felt I could relate to today? Even if it was only a few sentences, that's a success. If you can answer yes to that question, that's awesome. Did I think of a cool twist I want to add to my story, the storyline, to make that relationship more meaningful? Even if you didn't write a whole bunch of it, even if it was just thoughts going through your mind while you were working or doing something else, that's success. Who's to say that that isn't success right there? Did you enjoy simply carving out the time for yourself to sit down for 20 minutes in the morning with your cup of coffee before you had to make breakfast for your kids and just take a few minutes for yourself to write? Even if you didn't write that much, did you enjoy it? We need to start talking about writing in broader artistic terms. I firmly believe that. And I think there absolutely are writers who are talking about it in these terms. But I want to see more of it. I want to see more of it because it helps. It's so helpful in lifting that heavy feeling of needing to reach a benchmark, needing to measure up to what you wrote last week or what some author you read about online, the amount that they can write, or the quality of writing, thinking about some idealized concept that you want to try to match, realizing that this is an art form. Every time we sit down to write, we are engaging in art form. An art form that has so much to offer us as a practice, not as something that we need to accomplish or simply getting from point A to point B. Maybe it's less about what can I accomplish, how many books can I write, and more about what is this doing to me as a person? How is this serving me? How is this helping me? Each time I engage this artistic practice of sitting down, taking time for yourself to do something very creative in a world that would like to pull you in a million different directions and distract you from doing that thing. You've actually consciously made this choice to sit down and write from your soul and project your soul onto a page. How sacred does that process sound? It's amazing. This is writing. This is writing. And I could just meditate on that, honestly. I could just soak in that idea of how cool that is. What a cool honor we get. What an amazing opportunity for us to just do that. Is it really about just accomplishing something? Is it really about just cranking out the books? Or is it about learning something about ourselves? Who are we becoming? What sort of evolution is happening inside of us as we are exploring this art form of storytelling? And really, all art is storytelling. That's not new. So this is where we're using words on a page instead of like paint or dance or sculpting. You name it. There's thousands of art forms we could talk about right now. But we've chosen to use words and to take this story that's sort of welled up inside of us based on all these thoughts and experiences and mental formations and emotions that we've had over this span of time. And it's all culminated and blossomed into this story that now we're like, I have to do something with this thing. And maybe that means we just show up. We just show up and engage that art form for the pure benefit that it is to us. Maybe it needs to be that wellspring of goodness for us before it can be that for others. My story needs to mean something to me. It needs to help me and bring some spark of life to me before it can go any further in a meaningful way. Before it can be anything else to anyone else, it has to be something special to me, something that made me grow, something that brought me on a transformative journey. And maybe that means in order to look at writing in this way, maybe we have to remove some concepts that we may have habitually ingrained over time of beating ourselves up when we don't write enough, counting words really strictly, or comparing ourselves to other writers, comparing ourselves to ourselves on a different writing day. Maybe those concepts need to, through loving kindness, be gently released. And every time we catch ourselves thinking, oh, it's not that good today, we can be like, no, you know what? All I have is this moment of engaging this art form, and I'm just going to enjoy it. It's so simple, but it's tough because we make it tough. Coming back to that root though, that root of I'm here for joy. I'm here for the practice. And because I'm here for the practice, that means I can let go of the need for perfection. I can let go of the pressure. I don't have to put that on myself anymore. And oftentimes we find, because you might be thinking, Kate, this is great, but what if we do all this and then we're totally unproductive? We don't write anything. We just meditate and enjoy ourselves, which, you know, maybe some days you need that. Maybe some days you need that. But I think what I've found with myself, which I can only speak from my own personal experience here, as I've taken that pressure off, as I've shown up to write day after day after day, not expecting so much of myself, not putting these unrealistic pressures or pushing that finish line further and further and further out. I am writing more than ever, and I feel better about what I'm writing than I ever have. And my writing means more to me than it has ever meant. It's helping me in ways that it has never been able to help me before because I was restricting it. I wasn't looking at it as this beautiful art, a living thing, a living and transformative movement that's going to be different every day. It's supposed to be different every day because we're different every day. When I write tomorrow, I won't be the same exact person who was writing yesterday. I will have learned a little more. I will have come a little farther. And so my writing is going to reflect that, and it's going to move and change along with me. I can take the pressure off and embrace the practice. What would happen if we looked at writing as a practice instead of something we have to accomplish? I have a feeling we would enjoy writing a lot more. I have a feeling maybe some creative blocks would sort of just gently lower. I think some new paths might open. I think it's different for everybody, but something that has certainly helped me in my journey. So anyway, I wanted to just drop in and chat about this with you guys because it's something that's been really speaking to me and churning in my soul and my heart. Comment below and let me know what you think. Writing is a practice. What do you think of that concept? Do you think that if we eliminated or simply released this need for perfection, that it would actually maybe help us write better? That it would take some of the pressure off of us as writers to just simply embrace creativity instead of feeling like we have to get to that point that we set for ourselves, that impossible benchmark. I would love to hear from you. I love hearing from you. It means a lot to me when you share your practice with me below in the comments. If you enjoyed this message or you feel like, oh, you know, I'm thinking of someone who might like this, it always means the world when you share these videos, because I think it's wonderful to get together as a community and talk about these things. I think we need more of this in the writing community. I invite you to subscribe. I'd love to have you here. I'd love to know that you'll be there in the next video to chat about more topics of creativity and mindfulness. If you feel drawn to support in any way, you can find the links to my Patreon and my Etsy shop where I create art with my husband. You can find all of that below. Otherwise, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, and I wish you so much joy in your creative journey. Namaste.